I want you to imagine that you spend like $14 billion to build this completely impenetrable state-of-the-art vault to save your company.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of money.
Right. So you fortify the walls, you satisfy every single government regulator on the planet, and I mean, your executives are literally popping champagne in the boardroom because the business is finally secure.
Yeah, they think they've won.
Exactly. But then, you look inside the vault and you realize that by sealing it so perfectly, you accidentally suffocated all of your best customers.
Oh, man. That's bleak.
It really is. So welcome to your custom deep dive. You brought us this really incredible stack of executive intelligence reports and internal platform data slide decks. They're all dated April 24, 2026, and they are analyzing the current state of TikTok.
Yeah, and it's a fascinating stack of documents.
Our mission today is to unpack a massive, just totally jarring contradiction sitting right in the middle of these sources. We're going to figure out why exactly the corporate news is celebrating TikTok as this beacon of global stability, while the actual creators on the app are, well, they're outright panicking about its sudden demise.
Yeah, I mean, it is the ultimate decoupling of corporate reality from product reality, right?
Absolutely.
We are looking at a platform's desperate survival strategy, just actively dismantling its own cultural relevance. And I am genuinely thrilled you brought this stack of sources to us because it captures this highly complex corporate pivot happening in real time.
Yeah, the timing is wild.
Right. Because on paper, the strategy worked, the regulatory heat is gone. But in the ecosystem itself, the data is just flashing code red.
And here's where it gets really interesting. If you read the corporate report, TikTok has never been safer. It has never been more compliant.
Sure.
But on the screen, the intelligence reports show a massive 62% drop in overall impressions.
62%, that's...
It's huge. And add to that a 51% drop in user engagement. I mean, we aren't talking about a seasonal dip here or some minor algorithmic tweak. That is a total free fall.
It's a systemic shock. It really
Yeah.
is. And to understand why the creators are panicking, we have to look really closely at what those executives are actually celebrating in the boardroom.
Right. What are they so happy about?
They are celebrating the physical, literal rebuilding of TikTok's global infrastructure. Because for years, the prevailing narrative around this app was entirely existential. Every single headline asked whether it was going to be banned in the West due to data security concerns.
Right. It was always, is this the end of TikTok?
Exactly. And the data you sent us shows they executed a massive corporate pivot to kill that narrative completely. We are looking at two major initiatives here. There's Project Clover in Europe and the USDS joint venture in America.
And they threw a staggering $14 billion at this problem. I mean, $14 billion.
It's a hard number to even wrap your head around.
It really is. They're building a second €1 billion data center in Lodi, Finland. And they brought in this third-party cybersecurity firm, the NCC Group, to oversee all of that European data.
Yeah, and the American side of the equation is even more dramatic, actually. The platform's U.S. operations are now completely controlled by a consortium, and that includes Oracle, Silver Lake, and MGX.
So not just minor players.
No, massive players. And this wasn't just a matter of changing the corporate letterhead or shuffling some executives around. They had to appease federal security requirements by proving that American user data was physically untouchable by foreign entities.
Physically untouchable.
Right. And to do that, they had to rebuild the recommendation models. The famous highly addictive algorithm. They had to rebuild it from scratch using exclusively regional data.
Wow. And the media strategy around this is fascinating to look at. The journalistic sentiment right now is sitting at an incredibly stable 83% neutral.
Which is exactly what they want.
Totally. Outlets like MediaPost, ByteSEO, and Finbold, they are writing about TikTok the way you would write about, like, a public utility, like a water company or an electrical grid. The conversation completely shifted from, will it be banned, to look at how meticulously they're complying.
Yeah, they successfully lowered the geopolitical temperature. The intelligence reports you provided actually call this infrastructure build-out a silent milestone.
Silent milestone.
Yeah, which is arguably the most telling phrase in the entire deck. Because the lack of organic creator noise about $14 billion data centers, that's the exact outcome the company wanted.
Right, they don't want teenagers doing dances about data centers.
Exactly. By avoiding viral discussions about data security, the platform quietly transitions into what the reports call a critical infrastructure provider. They want to be seen as a boring, highly regulated logistics story.
I mean, it is like taking a chaotic underground nightclub where everyone is just having the time of their lives and renovating it into a brightly lit, heavily regulated bank.
That's a great way to put it.
It's incredibly safe.
Yeah.
But I do have to wonder about the global ripple effects here. This massive wall they built in the West to keep data in what is happening on the other side of that wall.
Well, the sources do indicate a significant secondary tension in the East.
Yeah.
Analysts like Shiki Budabug note that Beijing's National Development and Reform Commission has ordered ByteDance, the parent company, to seek explicit approval for any U.S. capital involved in their AI ventures.
So they're getting squeezed from both sides.
Precisely. The parent company is essentially being squeezed by regulators on both sides of the planet.
Yeah.
But focusing purely on the West, the corporate fortress is officially built
Oh.
and operational.
But building an impenetrable vault has a fatal flaw, right?
Yeah.
Because when you isolate the data into these incredibly secure regional silos, you sever the central nervous system of the entire platform.
Yes.
And according to the creator data we have here, that physical separation is exactly what broke the algorithm.
Yeah, think of the old global algorithm like the corpus callosum in a human brain.
Yeah.
Connecting the left hemisphere to the right.
Okay.
A user in Paris, lingering on a specific video for 3 extra seconds, taught the machine something valuable that it could immediately apply to a user in Chicago. The AI learned globally and instantaneously.
It was all connected.
Right, but by building separate data centers in Finland and Texas and forbidding the data from crossing borders, they essentially severed that connection.
So the left hand literally no longer knows what the right hand is trending.
Yeah.
That explains this massive geofencing effect detailed in the reports. I mean, UK-based creators are looking at their analytics and realizing their US viewership has plummeted from 10% of their total audience down to just 1%.
Yeah, because the US algorithm and the European algorithm are now entirely separate brains. They're siloed. If a trend starts in London, the US machine just doesn't automatically detect it and propagate it anymore because it doesn't have access to the data stream that proves it's going viral.
Man. And if you're a creator who spent like 5 years building a global audience to pay your rent, and suddenly the machine just stops distributing your videos across the ocean, you don't look at that and think, oh, they must have updated their server architecture.
No, of course not.
You think somebody is actively pulling the plug on your career, which is why creators are dealing with what they call the zero views glitch.
Yeah, this is terrifying for them. Accounts with massive followings are posting heavily produced videos, and they are just sitting at 0 views for hours.
The data points to specific creators, too, like at KM Robinson Life and at terrorstuff.com. They hit publish, and nothing happens. It's because of these aggressive new security checkup filters. And users are not taking this well.
Not at all.
The transcripts of the videos being uploaded to the platform are absolutely flooding with words like shadow ban and censorship.
Yeah, and this is a critical pivot point in the data you brought us. The frustration over technical glitches is rapidly morphing into genuine, organized anger.
We are seeing creators pointing to specific highly charged topics, right? Like videos discussing ICE raids, like the recent one posted by legal commentator Steve Vladeck, or, content about the conflict in Gaza.
Right, and creators are seeing their views flatline on these specific topics and immediately calling it a targeted political shadow ban. Users on Reddit and Bluesky are openly calling the new platform a blatant tool for U.S. propaganda.
Yeah, and even massive celebrities like Billie Eilish are publicly claiming the platform is suppressing view counts and silencing people. Now, we really need to be clear here for the listener.
Absolutely.
We are entirely neutrally reporting the data found in these intelligence reports. We are not validating these claims of intentional political censorship or, taking any sort of political side, left or right.
Right, exactly. Whether those claims of intentional political censorship are objectively true or not, it almost misses the point for our analysis today.
Exactly. We are just explaining the creator narrative driving this negative sentiment.
Right. We are looking at the behavioral data. And the data tells us that this is the absolute reality for the users. The perception of suppression is driving the massive negative sentiment we are seeing. The machine is throwing up a wall, and users feel silenced.
So what is actually happening under the hood then? If it isn't an executive sitting in a smoky room deciding to ban specific political videos, what is the machine actually doing?
Well, it comes back to the brightly lit bank analogy.
Mm-hmm.
The company rebuilt these separate US and EU models to appease very strict regulators. To guarantee compliance, the AI has been tuned to be incredibly, almost violently conservative.
Violently conservative, right?
Yeah. The new security checkup filter acts as this automated liability shield. It explicitly labels content as undistributable if it triggers even the most minor, borderline AI detection for risk.
Oh, wow.
It is a system built to ensure zero regulatory violations. And the easiest way to ensure a video doesn't violate a rule is to show it to absolutely no one.
Wow. So the algorithm is no longer optimizing for viral spread. It is optimizing for safety. It's like a security system that automatically locks all the doors if a customer walks in wearing a hat and sunglasses, just in case.
Yeah, exactly. Which fundamentally rewrites the rules of digital media. The era of easy, frictionless virality is just over. The intelligence deck calls this new era the shift to durable attention.
Okay, let's unpack this durable attention model because the data here is actually kind of hilarious in a very dark way. The new gatekeeper for success is something the report called the 70% gate.
Yeah, this is wild.
A video now needs a 70% completion rate in its first 60 minutes of being live, or the algorithm just systematically throttles it.
Just consider the cognitive load that demands from an audience. I mean, back in 2024, a 50% completion rate was easily enough to push you onto the viral For You page. Now you have to convince 7 out of 10 people to watch your entire video, start to finish, within the first hour.
Wait, hold on. Keeping 70% of an audience for a full minute on a scrolling app. That's not just a difficult metric. That fundamentally changes the medium itself. It changes what kinds of stories can even be told.
It does.
And this is where we hit the most glaring paradox in the entire stack of sources you gave us. The reports cite data from OpusClip showing the platform is actively pushing creators to make longer videos, specifically 60 to 180 seconds.
Right.
They want to compete with YouTube for premium ad revenue.
The boardroom wants to sell high-value, long-form advertising slots. That's where the money is.
But the human brain is rejecting the mandate. I mean, the actual viral tier, the length of videos that actually manage to survive that brutal 70% gate, is a stubbornly short 41 seconds.
Yeah, the platform is demanding long-form, durable content to satisfy advertisers. But the audience's attention span is still ruthlessly wired for 41-second hits. It is a massive tug-of-war between the infrastructure and human psychology.
And who wins that tug of war?
Well, because organic serendipitous virality is essentially dead under these new rules, the reports show a fascinating survival tactic emerging among creators. They are shifting massively toward SEO, search everywhere optimization.
Okay, but we usually think of SEO as tweaking text on a website so it ranks higher on Google, right? How does that work for a short-form video app?
So if the algorithm refuses to push your video to 1 million people organically because it's too risky or it didn't hit that crazy 70% gate, your only option is to make sure your video pops up when a user actively searches for a specific topic.
Got it.
The data highlights a specific creator at dream_pairs who is succeeding in this new environment.
Right, and they aren't doing the classic routine, are they? No more pointing at text bubbles while dancing to the trending song of the week.
Far from it. They are abandoning trending audio entirely. Instead, they're using hyper-specific captions, targeted keywords, and really dense on-screen text. They are treating the video like an encyclopedic entry.
And people watch that.
It works, because right now, 50% of Gen Z searches happen directly on the app. The platform is actively transitioning from a lean-back entertainment feed into a lean-forward search engine.
I really have to push back on this strategy, though, because does forcing durable attention and turning a serendipity app into a search engine just destroy the core product?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right, because the magic of the For You page was the slot machine effect. You pulled the lever and it gave you bizarre, wonderful things you didn't even know you wanted to see. If I want a rigid text-optimized search engine to find a recipe or a product review, wouldn't I just use Google?
Yeah, and that is the existential crisis facing the executives right now. By prioritizing content that is perfectly safe, highly durable, and easily searchable, they are systematically stripping away the chaotic unpredictability that made the app a cultural juggernaut in the first place.
Yeah.
You are replacing serendipity with utility.
Yeah.
And utility, while profitable and stable, is rarely fun.
Which perfectly explains why the creators who actually built that original fun culture are packing their bags. I mean, they feel like the discovery engine is broken, the new 70% completion rules are mathematically impossible to follow, and they are terrified that some random AI-driven zero-view glitch is going to wipe out their income overnight.
It's a huge risk for them.
Yeah. This isn't just grumbling. The data shows a massive flight to safety.
And the primary beneficiary of this migration is a rival platform called Skylight Social.
The numbers here are genuinely staggering. The exact week that the U.S. joint venture was finalized, the very week TikTok became officially safe and compliant in the eyes of federal regulators, Skylight Social saw a 919% surge in downloads.
919%.
Insane! And if you look at expert and creator communities on platforms like Substack and Bluesky, the engagement sentiment regarding TikTok is currently 100% negative.
Yeah, and when the power users, the people who actually manufacture the culture, turn on you entirely, the mainstream audience almost always follows them out the door eventually. But we have to look closely at the mechanics of why Skylight Social is winning this migration.
Right, what's so special about it?
It's not just because it has a fresh coat of paint or a slightly better algorithm. It is winning because of its underlying architecture.
Okay, the reports mention it's built on something called the AT protocol. We hear the term open source thrown around constantly in tech, but what does that actually mean for a frustrated video creator?
It changes the entire balance of power.
Hmm.
The AT protocol is an open source networking standard. And what it offers creators is a concept called portability.
Portability.
Right. Think of your audience on a traditional platform as a list kept securely on the company's private servers. The company owns that list. The algorithm is the landlord. If the landlord changes the rules or throttles your reach or implements a hyper-conservative security filter, you lose access to the audience you spent years building.
Wow. You are totally at their mercy.
But on an open source protocol like Skylight Social, the creator owns the cryptographic relationship with their followers. You aren't renting space from a landlord. You hold the deed to your social graph.
That's huge.
It is. If a specific app's interface or algorithm changes in a way you don't like, you can simply take your followers and plug them into a completely different app built on that same protocol. Your audience moves with you seamlessly.
Okay, so it's the difference between renting a storefront from a landlord who randomly changes the locks on you in the middle of the night versus owning the building outright.
Exactly.
If you rely on this for your livelihood, of course you would flee to the platform where you own the building.
Right. It is the ultimate technological hedge against algorithmic volatility. It is a literal structural flight to safety for these creators.
You know, there is a quote in the Intel reports from a creator at Benice_workhard that completely crystallizes this entire deep dive. They said the new TikTok has become a witness protection program for content secure but invisible.
Man, that is so accurate. It highlights the defining irony of this entire data set. The company went through years of grueling congressional hearings. They faced constant existential threats to their very existence.
Yep.
They spent $14 billion on server infrastructure and third-party oversight. They physically severed their global AI to appease regulators and save their business.
And from the boardroom's perspective, they won the war.
They did. They successfully transformed into a boring, compliant, highly regulated utility. But in the process of securing the vault, they alienated the exact people who made the contents of the vault valuable in the first place.
Right.
They secured the fortress, but the party packed up and moved down the street to an open-source alternative.
So, to summarize this incredible journey through the April 2026 intelligence reports you brought us, TikTok successfully built a $14 billion global fortress to appease Western regulators. The corporate media is glowing, calling them a critical infrastructure provider.
A silent milestone.
Right, exactly. But underneath that shiny surface, the physical fragmentation of their data centers completely lobotomize the global algorithm. Their desperate shift toward durable, searchable content to please advertisers clashes directly with human attention spans, tanking user impressions by a massive 62%.
It's a disaster on the ground.
And as the platform violently self-corrects for safety, exhausted creators are fleeing the zero-view glitches, taking their audiences to open-source rivals like Skylight Social, where they can actually own their communities.
Which leaves us with a fascinating, almost philosophical thought to mull over.
Oh, definitely.
For years, society, media, and regulators demanded that social media platforms grow up. We demanded they become heavily regulated, completely transparent, and prioritize algorithmic safety over viral, unfiltered chaos.
We basically asked for this.
We did. But now that we are looking at the hard data from a perfectly safe, perfectly compliant, lockdown platform, is it possible that the danger of that unfiltered virality was actually the core product all along? Can a social network actually survive if it becomes too safe to be social?
Wow. That is the perfect question to leave hanging in the air. The brightly lit bank versus the underground nightclub. Thank you so much for bringing this incredible stack of sources to us. We absolutely loved unpacking the mechanisms behind this contradiction for you and diving deep into the hidden reality behind the corporate headlines. Until next time, keep digging into the data.